Okay, so in this video, we're going to be looking at this problem here. This problem is telling us to read the following prompts and identify the charges that objects B, C, D, E, and F possess. Now, this is not hard to do. At first, it might seem kind of daunting because there's a lot to read, but when you think about how to solve this problem and you follow the steps to do so, it isn't a hard problem at all. So let's go ahead and start. This is how I would do this problem. So let me go ahead and list A to F. So A, B, C, D, E, and F. Okay, A, B, C, D, E, F. So I just write those out because there's total of 6 objects. There's A to F. They're numbered from they're lettered from A to F. So what I do next is I look at the interaction between the two. So A and B are going to repel, as you can see here. And so I just go and write a small r over there. B and C are going to attract, so I write an A. So I'm just going to fill it up with A's and R's. C and D repel, so this is going to be the repulsion. D and E will attract, and then E and F will also attract here. Okay, so that's good. We got that up. And object F, and this is an important one, object F and a neutral object attract each other. If you forget this, you will get the problem wrong. That's something that you can oftentimes do accidentally, is just read this portion here and then just not read this portion. So it's important to read this portion too. An object F and a neutral object attract each other. That's important. That'll be useful at the end. So let's not worry about that now, but keep that in mind. Then this part says what type of charges, so it's just asking you what type of charges. Remember, A is given to you as being positively charged. So what I do is I just go ahead and write a plus here. So it's positively charged. Now, this is a repulsion. Remember, repulsions can occur with the same sign. So whenever they have the same sign or the same charge, essentially, they will repel. Okay, so the same sign in our case, which indicates that this is the same charge, they will repel. So if this is positive and it repels, there has to be positive here. This has to be positive. It can't be anything else. It can't be negative. It can't be neutral. It has to be positive. Now, for attractions, it's a little bit more I guess complicated, but you just have to think about it more. Attractions, it's like the famous saying, or not so famous, but it's like the saying that opposites attract. That's true. So negative for sure, negative, positive, they're gonna attract. Now the other thing that some people don't know is that the neutral attracts as well with the positive or the negative. So this can be neutral. So it can be negative, it can be neutral. I just write an N, and don't get confused with the N's as being neutral or negative. It's actually just neutral, and negative is the negative sign. So keep that in mind. So positive can attract to a negative or to a neutral, because neutral can attract to positives or negatives, but neutrals do not attract to neutrals. They don't attract. Okay, they don't repel either. So okay, let's look at the repulsion here. Next thing. Now this is good because what's going to happen here is going to be pretty interesting. Notice that C and D repel. The only way that we can repel is if we have the same sign. So if this is positive, then the repulsion is going to occur when D is negative, okay? And we don't even need to worry about N here because that's insignificant, because the neutral can never repel, no matter what it is. Neutral and something else can never repel. If it's positive, then it's going to repel with another positive. If it's negative, it's going to repel with another negative. But that's all. That's all that can happen. Neutral will not repel. So this is ruling out the option, okay? So this attraction has 2 options, but now we ruled this out because it's not something that can happen. So that's the power of repulsion. It can simplify stuff. Now same thing with E. I'm gonna go a little quicker here. Instead of going from like positive and then negative and neutral, this is gonna be negative and then positive, opposites attract, and then neutral. Okay? Let's go to the last one. Attraction with F. Now, attraction's not going to help you cut stuff down, but let's go ahead and think about what this is going to be. So negative can attract with a positive or a neutral, and attraction, now if it's positive, it's going to attract with a negative or a neutral. If it's neutral, it's going to attract with a negative or a positive. So technically all of the options are possible right now, as of now, because positive, if it's positive, we don't know if it's positive or neutral, object D. So if it's positive, then it's going to attract with a negative or a neutral. But if it's negative, it's going to attract with a negative or a positive. And so it can be any of these. But now comes our final statement here. rather this one. An object F has a neutral charge. Sorry, neutral object attracts, object F and a neutral object attract. What does this tell you about object F? So there's another neutral object, and I'll call that G for example. Do that in this color. And these two are, and G is neutral, so let me write that out. G is neutral. And these two will go ahead and attract with each other. So they are attraction. So, okay, let's see. We can actually simplify F a lot more here. So G is neutral. It's going to attract with this. It can attract when it's negative. It can attract when it's positive, because negative, neutral, positive, neutral can attract, but not when it's neutral. So it can't be neutral. Now, this is nice because we have cut down F to only having two options. If it can be negative, it can be positive, and in that case, in both cases, it will attract to G. So that's good. We can't distinguish between these two, but we know it's going to be either negative or positive, since that's attracting. And E is, if it's positive, it's going to attract to negative. If it's negative, if it's neutral, it can attract to a negative or a positive. And so everything's working out. Everything is looking good. So let's just go ahead and check if all my answers here are possible. Positive can attract to repel to a positive, so that's good. Positive can attract to a negative. Negative can repel to a negative. Negative can attract to a positive or a neutral. Positive can attract to a negative. Neutral can attract to a negative or a positive. Negative can attract to a neutral, and positive can attract to a neutral as well. So our final thing, what type of charges does object B, C, D, E, F possess? Object B, and then object C, D, E, and F. So these are the charges. So this can be, B can be positive, has to be positive. C has to be negative. D has to be negative as well. E has to, well, it can be positive or neutral. And F can be negative or positive. Make sure not to include the ones that are canceled out, like the neutral here. And that is the answer to this problem here. This is one video out of a total of two videos that I'll be making on this topic. It's not a hard topic, and you might know it, but make sure to try to get this practice, because doing this is really useful. And although this topic is easy, it's helpful to do this to get some practice. So stay tuned for the next video.